Welcome, I'm Jackie B, and this is Radical Becoming. Today we're going to talk about the quality of perseverance, what it is, how it can change your world, how it can change the world, and how yoga can help us to cultivate this quality within ourselves. Let's talk about it. Let's begin by coming into this moment, finding a comfortable seat and feeling our contact with the earth wherever we are. Get your shoulders down your back. Let your heart soften, your face soften, and extend your crown toward the sky. Take a few deep breaths into your belly. Feel it expand 360 degrees around. As you exhale, release completely. And notice the pause at the bottom of your exhale. And then let the next inhale. Exhale. Pause. The fruits of mindfulness practices are numerous, but today we're going to focus on one that I'm very passionate about, and that is perseverance. So let's begin again. What is perseverance? Perseverance is a soulful commitment to keep walking the path toward healing or truth or justice, even when the way is unclear, even when it's hard, when it's uncomfortable or boring or uncertain. It's the capacity to hold steady when life tests your commitment. Perseverance is the union of faith and effort. It's showing up wholly again and again, trusting that small actions matter and that transformation takes time. And each time we begin again, we renew and we show up fully and devoted, whether it's the first time or the 100th time. It's about moving forward with spirit. Perseverance is not to be confused with resilience. When we're resilient, we push through in the face of adversity, which is an incredible skill to have and to hone. However, the first chance we get to pause, we can find the quality of perseverance. We can choose to persevere. When we persevere, we renew our spirit, we come back to our values, we restore our faith. And in doing so, we restore our integrity. We can move forward with intentionality rather than reaction or survival. We aren't acting from a place of depletion when we persevere. We move forward grounded with a devotion that aligns with our character. Resilience gets you through. Perseverance carries you forward. Perseverance is so important in the many fights for a better world that we are engaged in right now. Oppressive systems depend on exhaustion. They're designed to wear people down, to shorten attention spans, to make us afraid of failure so we don't even try. They fragment our communities and divide us so we can't collaborate. and they drain our capacity to show up for each other, to choose what serves the greater good over what is easy or what serves ourselves. To persevere is to rebel against oppressive systems and to diminish their power. Perseverance is an antidote to oppressive systems because it rebuilds our capacity when those systems drain it. It deepens our attention span when those systems scatter it. It strengthens our relationships when those systems try to divide us. And so importantly, it renews our moral clarity when those systems try to numb it. So often when we see people acting in what we might consider deplorable ways, so much of that is them being trapped in these holes of despair created by nefarious parties to keep people scared, exhausted, and divided, so that we don't remember our humanity, we don't remember our love, our morality, our connection. But when we break free long enough to take a breath, we see people, we soften, we open, we remember. Yoga and meditation help build our capacity to pause, to breathe, to create the opportunity to break out of drudging through it and to choose instead to persevere. Yoga nurtures our exhaustion and rejuvenates our spirit. And any fear of failure that may stop us from taking action, the yoga mat very quickly humbles us and illuminates how fruitful the cycle of failing and beginning again can be. So you grow to welcome challenge. Failure is exciting because it is wisdom. Yoga cultivates the capacity for perseverance by teaching us to stay present without panic, to tolerate discomfort without collapsing, to rest without feeling guilty, to act intentionally without frenzy. Systems of domination do not fear our anger. They fear our endurance, our collaboration. They fear our ability to stay awake without burning out, to stay connected, to stay human without being hardened. Perseverance is not passive. It is the long practice of refusing to be emptied. Yoga cultivates perseverance, and perseverance is rebellion. The world, unfortunately, doesn't teach us perseverance. It teaches us to give up very often, to run from failure instead of owning it. Oppressive systems train us to expect quick results and to abandon what doesn't yield instant gratification. They benefit from our giving up. Pranayama and meditation are powerful practices for countering this and building perseverance. Pranayama gives us back our breath. The breath has the power to restore our calm, our vitality, our focus. So working with the breath can give us back the capacity to find our stability again and realign with our integrity. And in meditation, we practice returning again and again to the breath, to awareness, to the now, to ourselves. And when we begin again, we're never sent back to the starting line. We continue from where we left off. So we begin again with a knowing of what the path looked like on our last try. And we begin again with a learning about ourselves. Perhaps it's a limit to be honored that we went too far past. Or perhaps it's a habit to shed that no longer serves us. Or perhaps it's a shadow that begs for light. And so we begin again, more informed, more prepared, more mindful, each beginning enlightened by the last. Every time the mind wanders in meditation and we return and gently begin again, we strengthen our perseverance muscle. And gently is key. Perseverance comes from returning without bitterness, without resentment, without cynicism. It's showing up with an openness that allows complete presence and devotion. Regarding devotion, on the yoga mat, we practice believing. Not that we can shoehorn ourselves into positions or hold beyond our limits, but rather believing that we serve best when we show up whole in this moment and in the next with the same spirit. To look within and let our intrinsic inertia carry us forward unimpeded by external or internal judgments. And that primal motivation is what we tap into in breath and meditation practices. When we pause and we become mindful, we remember this truth. Meditation and pranayama smother oppression, and it brings us into unity and renews your spirit. In mindfulness, we learn to meet the moment as it is and not how we wish it to be. And this builds the ability to keep engaging with life even when it's imperfect. So when you wobble, drift, stumble, fracture, stagnate, we pause and we notice. And this isn't fault or flaw or deficiency. This is knowledge. This is power. Beginning again brings greater seeing. So the fruits of this path are clarity and wisdom, intuition, content, authenticity, liberation, samadhi. That's why we pause. That's why we notice. That's why we practice presence. A hatha flow is one of my favorite ways to build these foundations. As you mindfully move from pose to pose, taking your time in each one, you come face to face with all the things that challenge perseverance. Discomfort, vulnerability, fear of failing, or fear of the unknown. And we reset our expectations that these sensations aren't threats to be avoided, but lessons that when we listen and we allow their presence, they reveal greater capacity for effort, for clarity, for perseverance. So in hatha, we stay present. We feel our bodies, we observe what comes up, and we stay aligned with our integrity. We choose how we show up in each moment, and we're gentle with ourselves when we forget. Pose after pose, breath after breath, we write the patterns of behavior that we want to carry off the mat. We choose perseverance, and we choose perseverance, and we choose again and again until we embody the habit. How do we get out of our own way when it comes to perseverance? Over time, yoga teaches us that perseverance isn't about forcing or enduring through suffering. It's about trust. Trust in the process, trust in the wisdom of effort, trust that what we water will grow. This belief that the choices we make in any given moment will accumulate and ripple well beyond our physical reach or even our lifetime, that belief is Ishvara Pranidhana. When we have faith in that greater connection, we can choose to surrender in this moment. surrender to discomfort that we know is temporary, surrender to challenge that we know is not to be intimidating, but an opportunity to grow, surrender to the impermanence of it all, because we are prepared to embrace whatever comes next. It's not easy by any means. Sometimes it feels impossible to see any light at the end of the current struggle tunnel. But to persevere means sitting in the struggle while not letting it diminish your devotion. We show up and do our best, not for reward, but because we're responsible for what we put out into the world. And that is deeply rewarding, not on the surface, but in our soul. That is Dharma. Resisting struggle steals our energy. It creates friction, it narrows our view, it clutters our mind. If we can let go of our attachment to the idea that we shouldn't have to struggle and show up with the attitude, this might be hard, but I'm here. What can I do? That's perseverance. I love to practice surrender with a slow flow, getting on my mat, into my body, flowing with my breath rhythmically from movement to movement, and sprinkle that with challenging poses that implore you to show up fully. That's how yoga helps cultivate perseverance. When you choose to persevere, you reject the urge to abandon yourself at the first sign of difficulty. You reject the fantasy of overnight growth. You reject systems that profit from your retreat. You discover what is on the other side of fear and hesitation and doubt. And in doing so, you minimize their power on your behavior. You can realize your true capacity, your potential, by reclaiming your energy from despair, division, oppressive influences, and placing it where you know needs attention. You are regaining autonomy. You're liberating yourself from any ideas that you shouldn't show up, that you shouldn't make noise, that you shouldn't take up space. This is how perseverance carries intention and ambition and goals into tangible manifestations to reach change in the world. So when we feel the urge to dilute our words, to mute our expression, to minimize our experience in the service of someone else's comfort or even our own, we must recenter. We must root in truth, ground in our right to be here, and choose to show up again and again and again. You showing up is what the world needs. To liberate ourselves from the ideas that keep us small and quiet and contained and restrained. Perseverance is passionate. It's fire. I can always feel it showing up in a fiery vinyasa flow. Those classes when you get on the mat, you're ready, you're locked in. For me, I've got my music playing, I've got my mat in the dirt facing the sun, I'm one with my breath, my movements are charged, and the heat carries me from breath to breath. And in that space, perseverance isn't a question, it's an instinctive choice with every pose. There's nothing like a good, fiery vinyasa flow to experience your perseverance. Perseverance is the quiet, brave act of beginning again. It isn't force or strain. It's the soft, steady willingness to return to your breath, to your body, to your truth, again and again and again. Perseverance is built on belief. On our belief that the difference between giving up and moving through is a choice that we make in every moment. When you believe in yourself, in the greater effect of your existence, you cease to attach the limiting beliefs of others. You learn for yourself what you can do. You have autonomy over your energy, your focus, your existence. You are part of this world, and you deserve to be here. And the world needs you to be here. Perseverance is not pushing harder. It's choosing to remain human inside of systems that profit from our depletion. It's the practice of staying with the breath, with truth, with each other, long enough for something new to grow. That's why perseverance renews the spirit. It reminds us that we will rise again and again and again. Perseverance is an honesty with the present and a choice not to harden around it, but to offer our light to it. When we continue caring, loving, and showing up despite exhaustion, despite judgment, whatever, we defy systems that profit from our despair. Every act of sustained presence is a refusal to be numbed, a refusal to be broken by cynicism. Perseverance says, you cannot steal my hope. You cannot steal my effort. I am here and I remain. Perseverance is union. It is to yoke, to unify with ourselves, with each other, and with the continuation of time. Perseverance is liberation. You can find a link in the description below for my free yoga offerings on YouTube. And I hope that you find a style of yoga that resonates with you, because these gifts that yoga gives us are so deeply fruitful to ourselves and every life we touch. Let's take a collective breath together. Bring your arms by your sides, palms face up. Inhale, I am here. Palms touch, bring them down through heart center. I remain. Keep your hands at Anjali Mudra. Let's inhale for Om. Let's dedicate our efforts today. May all beings everywhere be happy and free, and may the thoughts, words, and actions of my own life contribute in some way to that happiness and to that freedom for all. Thank you for practicing yoga. Be well.